Mike, for that very kind introduction. Thank you, guys, for that. I needed that. Hello, everyone. My name's Anna Turley, and I was in Merchants between 1990 and 1997. It is so lovely to be back. To my shame, this is honestly the first time I've been back since we left, and I can't believe it's been 25 years, and it's a little bit traumatising, but it's fantastic to be back. It's really, really lovely to see so many old friends, and also to see all the fantastic teachers, who I know I'm personally very grateful for. And talking to my friends, we are hugely grateful for so much more than they probably will ever know. And actually, despite making dozens of speeches in the House of Commons, I actually feel far more intimidated standing up here in front of them to make this speech. I fully expect Mrs. Smythe to tell me that I've started too many sentences with the word and I should have said moreover. But it's really, really lovely to see them all. And you very rarely in life, I think, get the chance to thank the people who work so hard and give you the tools that you need in life. And I think very often we rattle through life and you rarely stop and think about how lucky we were at this school to have such a great team supporting us, but also such incredible opportunities, such incredible facilities. We're incredibly lucky, compared to most children in this country, and I think you probably take that for granted when you're here, but it's certainly something that I'm conscious of. And I know all of us would perhaps, I think, like to take a moment and to embarrass them and to thank all the teachers and staff who did so much. So perhaps we can give them a round of applause, and also the visitors who are And I think also, actually, we probably ought to apologise to them because we were probably pretty horrendous. They might not think it, but teenage girls can be awful at the best of times, and I think we might have been actually pretty bad. I think we might have deserved some of those dusty board rubbers that came flying past our heads. You wouldn't get away with that now. And that was the early 90s, of course. It was a different world then, but those were the days. We were obsessed with Neighbours and Friends on TV. We listened to Nirvana, Blur and Oasis on cassettes. Remember them? And yes, admit it, we were all a little bit in love with Take That. And Chesney Hawkes. And we all bought Bryan Adams, Everything I Do It For You on the single. Yes, we did. I can see some nods. We didn't just eat Pop-Tarts, but we ate donuts on a Thursday up at the refectory. And we ate pineapple upside-down cake, thanks to Mrs. Linwood. And our walls were adorned with posters from Athena. And actually, those were the days when the school, I remember, had one computer that we all took turns on. Sure you remember that, with a green screen. And then, of course, came that amazing idea from the future, the information superhighway. Anyone remember that? We all thought Mr. Gould had been mad talking about this thing of sending electronic letters to people around the world or having a giant global encyclopedia. It just seemed like another world to us. But Mr. Gould, Ashford School, was on the cutting edge of that technology, and how right he was. I also fondly remember our brilliant trips to London and Stratford for the theatre. Seem to remember the teachers might have got a little bit sozzled. I don't think they thought we noticed, but odd times have changed. And I remember a certain sixth form trip to the Rocky Horror Show, which I already mentioned today, with certain teachers in full drag, including fishnet stockings and suspenders. Obviously, I couldn't possibly mention any names, or even suggest those teachers might be in the room today. But we loved it though, and we were really happy and lucky to have teachers who were willing to have fun with us, as well as to work as hard. And my God, they let us have fun. Any school that allowed me on the stage to sing Girls Just Want to Have Fun, while dressed as a nun, playing a keyboard as our entry for the house music competition, I think meant that we never took life too seriously. And I'm absolutely sure that none of us are scarred from the staff appearances in the sixth form pantomimes. But at the same time as all the fun, we worked hard too. And I'll never ever forget my first school report from Ashford, when the then head teacher, Mrs. McCare, wrote in the report, "Reach for the stars." And she must have been the inspiration for S Club 7, by the way. But I realise now how lucky we were to have teachers and staff and a culture in the school which had the best aspirations for us and wanted to give us the tools to fulfil our potential in life. And I think I learned a lot of lessons at Ashford that have stood me in good stead in my life and my career in Westminster and Whitehall, and I just wanted to mention a few of them today. Firstly, men are rubbish and girls should rule the world. I'm not sure I'm allowed to say that how the school is going, but I'm only joking. Sort of. But when you look at the political world that I worked in, and you see how it's still so male-dominated, and how the culture and politics and media is still so misogynistic, I'm eternally grateful for the fact that Ashford School always taught us that we were absolutely equal to men, and that we could do anything that we set our minds to. Whether that was being involved in space exploration and experiments, or having great careers in journalism, law, business, politics, sport, engineering, science, anything at all. And I've really loved hearing today about all the amazing careers and life journeys that my friends have been on and the things they've achieved. And we learn to be fiercely independent, intellectually curious, and that our opinions and views were worth the same as anyone else's. And that certainly stood me in really good stead. I remember in one of the first interventions I made in Parliament, I was tackling an MP, and the next also male MP speaker said to me, well, the Honourable Lady was a little bit aggressive in her line of questioning. I wasn't aggressive at all, of course, but Ashford School had taught me not to be a simpering, deferential patsy with an inferiority complex around men, and it stood me in really good stead in the bear pit that is the House of Commons, and taking on bullies more widely in politics and society. And there's no way that I would have withstood the sexism and misogyny on social media that you get as an MP without the confidence and resilience that I got from this school. And for that, I'm really grateful. And secondly, I wanted to talk about our school motto, Esse Quam Videri Ut Prosim. I hope Mr. Cressy and dear Mrs. Wilkes would have been very proud of that pronunciation. But that, of course, means to be rather than to seem to be, in order that I may serve. And I don't think I really took much notice of that when I was a pupil here, but the words have stayed with me and held huge significance for me in my adult life and in the way that I've tried to conduct myself in my career. And in politics and in public life, particularly at the moment, it does seem as though truth and honesty are a bit out of fashion. We've supposedly had enough of experts, and it seems you can lie and gaslight, and social media can create fake news, spread conspiracy and disinformation at the speed of light. And it feels like it's never been more important, if you believe in democracy and truth and the rule of law, to try to be, rather than to seem to be, in order to serve your country. And I learned a lot from my experience in Parliament that in a very difficult couple of years after the referendum, you have to make huge and often very unpopular decisions in the national interest on issues like Brexit. And then integrity and honesty with the public about the reality of those decisions is really important. So often it seems easier to keep your head down, think about your own career and advancement, or give people easy solutions and promises, especially at a time when you're getting abuse, you're getting on social media, you're called a traitor, or getting death threats. But if you don't believe that something is in the national interest, then it's not to serve your constituents or your country, nor is it, in the words of our motto, to be rather than to seem to be. And this all seems to matter, I think, in these days more than ever before. And so the words of our school motto echo often in my head these days. And the third thing that I wanted to talk about that I took away from me from Ashford is about friendship, is about diversity, and is about teamwork. I think some of the strongest and happiest memories I have from Ashford are from what I learned playing with my dear friends, and I see them all here around with many happy memories from the sports field. But school sports teams were incredibly powerful for me. And I'm sure there are others who are more musically gifted than me. Please don't remind me about my scrapings on the cello. But they also learned this from orchestras and choirs, and also in our classwork. Teamwork and working together with people with different views and different backgrounds was a really, really important part of what I learned at Ashford. It was quite unusual, I think, to be at a school outside of a major city, which had young women from such diverse backgrounds as we had here, and to hear stories from all around the world. I'm eternally grateful that we didn't just learn about the Bible here, but that we learned about Islam and Judaism and Sikhism and Hinduism, and that we grew up with friends who wore a hijab, friends who had childhoods in Africa and Asia, and friends who went to mosques as well as churches. And in Parliament, I became good friends with Jo Cox, and was, of course, devastated by her terrible murder. But her words have always stayed with me, and she said, we have more in common than that which divides us. And I think that's exactly what Ashford taught me. The power of friendships, the power of achieving more when we work together, and the power of recognising diversity and different viewpoints as a strength, not a weakness. And speaking of friends, I'd just also like to take a moment to mention our dear friend Tessa Webb, who we tragically lost in January this year. She was the very best of us. She touched everybody with her kindness, and we miss her hugely, especially on days like today. And some of our year are doing a sponsored walk on the Pilgrim's Way tomorrow in Hungary and raising money for St Catherine's Hospice. So if you would like to donate, please speak to Gemma. But to end, I'm delighted to be here with all of you today, celebrating our time and everything we learned from school 25 years ago and everything it's given us. And I just wanted to share with you before I finish, there's actually a bit of a close call that I'm even here with you today, or that I was able to finish school here, or even to go to university and have this lucky career that I've had. It might all have ended one week back in 1995, when I was putting a bag of netballs back in the PE equipment cupboard after practice one evening. one evening, and one of the teachers didn't realise that I was in there and locked me in. And I banged on the door for about half an hour, no one came. And to make things worse, this was a Friday night, late on a Friday night before half term, so no one would have found me for a week. And of course there were no such things as mobile phones, and luckily Miss Mells, who is here today somewhere, Miss Mells heard me shouting and eventually rescued me. So after 25 years, I must just say a big thank you to Miss Mells for saving me an untimely death in the games cupboard of Ashford School. I'm sure everyone here has so many great stories to tell of their time here and of everything they've learned and the wonderful friendships they've made, both with their peers and with their teachers and others. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the afternoon, catching up, rolling back the years, reminiscing over a couple of glasses of wine. And thank you again to everyone at Ashford for the fun that we had. Thank you for Hannah for organising all of this today, and thanks for having me here today.